Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Rodane, where we shall discuss the new Warner Brothers movie spectacular slash boat ride, maybe? Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. Now, to introduce my co-host, he is about to go in and download hard evidence and expose a vast corporate conspiracy. And yeah, you can call him a whistleblower, but he ain't just whistling. Daniel.
And I would like to introduce my co-host. He's big, he's hairy, he may be contained in a like bubble. He's Steven.
Sure.
Was the best I had.
It wasn't very good.
Well,
okay. So how are you, Daniel? How are you doing?
well, a new Godzilla movie dropped, so I'm happy.
Are you?
Kind of. I like these movies, Steven. They're dumb, but I like them.
Do you?
I mean, we can talk about this movie. We are gonna talk about this movie in particular, but yeah.
So this is gonna be part of a new sort of arc that we're gonna do. I guess we can dub it the Kaiju arc. Because
Yes.
it's basically an arc where we go through a bunch of movies that involve a giant monster or giant monsters destroying cities slash other public property.
Yeah, it will not all be Godzilla movies. We have a rule that states we can only do like one other than this. And we're doing this because it's the newest one and it just came out. So
Yeah, and we want to be cool with the hip kids, and there. I think we discussed, or maybe we didn't, but we didn't see any point in doing the other ones in this incarnation
this
or this
MonsterVerse.
MonsterVerse, whatever. I have seen the other ones,
Same.
not necessarily in preparation, but they were on Netflix, so I watched them. I've seen the 2014 one and King of Monsters, and I've seen Kong Skull
Island.
fuckery on. I've seen it a couple of years ago when it came out.
Right.
Which made me prompt to wait for a John C. Reilly cameo.
Yeah.
Which never came.
Where the hell is John C. Reilly? Come on.
Because he survived, right? He was he came home at the end of
yeah, and you get a little montage of what he's doing at the end, and it's very nice.
And he could have been at the end, and he's next to Bryan Cranston.
Well, Bryan Cranston is dead in these movies.
Oh yeah, he is dead. Never mind.
Okay. Whoo boy, talk about wrong crowd.
So Daniel, how did we get here?
Well, we decided to do this podcast, and then we've done a lot of episodes, and now we're sitting. So how did we get here? So in 2014, I believe, Warner Brothers, in collaboration with Legendary, decided to reboot Godzilla. That became the 2014 Godzilla movie, starring for like half an hour Bryan Cranston before he gets killed, unceremoniously killed,
and starring the rest of the movie Kick-Ass.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was Kick-Ass. I can't remember the actor's name. Anyway,
Quicksilver.
Anyway, that became the start of what has been kind of dubbed the MonsterVerse, which I thought that was Universal's thing.
No, that's the Dark Universe. The dark universe, cinematic universe.
Yes, and as you stated, Steven, it has spawned now 4 movies, which is Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Kong Skull Island, and now this.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the culmination of this universe.
I mean, I haven't seen recently Godzilla and Godzilla King of Monsters. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like before we actually started recording, I read an article that talked about the future of this universe and how this was kind of what they were building up to.
Where the fuck do you go from here?
More Kong movies, I assume. We'll get to that.
Okay.
And the director, Adam Wingard, stated that he had actually planned a post-credit scene, but they didn't put it in because they didn't know what they were going to do with future movies, because this was the end. And there's also the thing with licensing, because of course Toho owns Godzilla and they want to do their own Godzilla movies.
So how does this work, the whole Toho thing, as in...
Okay, so...
Yeah, explain this, please.
They did a deal with Toho, because Toho hasn't actually been making Godzilla movies for a while.
The last one was Shin Godzilla, right?
This deal was before Shin Godzilla, and Shin Godzilla is actually quite important in terms of this deal.
Okay.
because it stated that the deal they made with either Legendary or Warner Bros. I don't know who the deal is made with. Stated that Toho could not release a Godzilla movie in the same year as these movies came out.
Fair enough.
Which is why they were able to do Shin Godzilla, because it came out at a time when there wasn't a Godzilla movie.
All right.
It also means that if Warner Bros. Wants to do more of these movies with Godzilla specifically, they will have to probably renew their contract with Toho, and Toho is now quite aggressively planning their extended whatever universe with, what is it? What was the one we
Shin Ultraman.
Shin Ultraman, and now has been announced today actually, Shin Kamen Rider, directed by Hideaki Anno.
What is that?
It's another tokusatsu character. I'm not that
Okay.
familiar with him.
Is it a monster? Is it a person?
It's a dude. But today we're doing 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, the box office success, apparently.
Is it?
It's made $150 million in its first week.
How? Where?
China. 69 million of those were in China. So nice.
Well, all the Chinese people loved how Godzilla destroyed Hong Kong.
Yeah, that was a thing. And it's having its opening weekend in the US right now, but people are speculating it's going to go all the way up to like 50 million. So it's going to beat like Tenet in its first week.
It's going all the way, baby.
Indeed.
People on the stock market are going, it's going all the way.
Suck
It's going all the way.
Suck it, Nolan.
Buy stock in Godzilla.
Can't buy stock in Godzilla.
I don't know, can't you?
You can buy stock in Toho.
Buy. What is this thing, Toho? I think Jerry's on crack again. He keeps yelling Toho at me. I don't know what the fuck that is. So who owns Kong? Or King Kong, sorry.
Well, that is a very, very large and very, very long story.
Okay, so Toho owns
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Toho-
It's a Japanese company.
It's a Japanese production company, yes.
Right. And they mostly produce monster movies.
Well, they
kind of thing.
produce a lot of things. Like they produced the Evangelion movies. They were the studio that originally made Godzilla. Of course, the original movie directed by Ishiro Honda, who also created kind of Godzilla. He at least co-wrote it.
Yeah.
And was actually originally inspired by King Kong, the original King Kong from 33.
Okay.
Which was made by RKO Pictures. The thing with that is RKO Pictures is not really alive anymore.
It's not a it's not a person, Daniel.
Well, it's one of those like old movie studios that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So the rights to King Kong is kind of up in the air. Like there is a...
So did nobody buy them or...
Well, there is sort of, from what I can understand of it, there is kind of affiliates of the old RKO that kind of has the rights to the movies. Like there are different parts of the rights to different characters. So for instance, if you want to make merchandise with King Kong, it's a different rights holder. And this is true, to a lawsuit with Nintendo.
How?
Donkey Kong.
Oh, shit. Why? Because it has Kong in it. Right.
Yeah, the original Donkey Kong game was a game where you play as, well, the original Mario, who wasn't called Mario at the time, scaling a building where an ape holds a woman hostage, which is King Kong.
Yeah.
So the rights holder at the time was like, yo, Nintendo, that's King Kong. And they were like, no, it's not. It's Donkey Kong. And they won. So that's why we have a Donkey Kong. So yeah.
Oh God. I like that they didn't even try to give him a second different name. It's still Kong. No.
It's just Donkey Kong. Yep.
Oh, what a fuck you. As far as I understand, this isn't the first time that there's been a King Kong Godzilla crossover movie thing.
There was one in the 60s. I can't remember if it was 62 or 64. Doesn't really matter.
No.
Where Toho made the Godzilla, which I actually think is called Godzilla versus King Kong.
It's called King Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay, fair enough.
I just found it.
62 or 64?
63.
Oh. Swing and a miss, Daniel. Anyway, so they made that movie, and it was actually originally supposed to be a different character that Godzilla was fighting against. I can't remember who, but it turned out
Donkey
it was just
Kong.
like, no. That would be funny though.
Kong King.
It was Diddy Kong. That's who it was.
It's King Kong's little brother, Diddy Kong. Hey, it's me. What's going on? What's he has like he's a catchphrase machine. He's kind of like the Scrappy Doo of.
Oh yeah. He's also played by Rowan Atkinson. Hey. There's a reference nobody will remember. So yeah, that became a thing, and there was even like there's a lot of funny stories around the King Kong versus Godzilla movie, including a rumor that there were two endings, one for each audience.
Oh.
So if you went to see it in America, King Kong won, and if you went to see it in Japan, Godzilla won, which has never been substantiated, and it's probably false because
it's so strange that this is probably the most bizarre culture clash versus thing that I've ever seen, because King Kong, it doesn't take a brain doctor or whatever, a scientist to determine the sort of racial implications of this giant ape that was taken from a native looking land and exposed, and it sort of it's very obvious what it's doing, right? And then the other one is a metaphor for nuclear, Godzilla is a child of nuclear explosions and, Hiroshima and that kind of thing. And these two things that technically don't really have anything to do with each other in terms of symbology and semiotics and that kind of thing. They're just two things that happen to be big. So it's like, well, they're roughly the same size. Let's just have them fucking smash into each other like a bunch of toys.
They're kind of spawns of each other because King Kong was kind of the first big monster movie at the time.
Right, fair enough, yeah.
So he spawned a lot of, imitators and other kaiju movies, which we will talk about in this series, which includes Godzilla.
I don't think, was the original King Kong, was it somebody in a suit?
It was stop motion. It was made by Willis O'Brien, who was the guy who taught Ray Harryhausen.
Wow.
Actually.
That's incredible.
He was stop motion back in the day, and then later they would go on to do like models, and at some point they would just go to people in a suit, and then of course with Peter Jackson they mocapped him.
They mocapped Andy Serkis,
Andy
right?
Serkis, yeah. But yeah, as you state, like there is a lot of weird implications between both characters. Like they're kind of odd to have like multiple movies made of them, because Godzilla, of course, is reference to nuclear destruction, and like a very symbolic character in Japan has like 36 films where most of them he's a mascot. Like he's the fucking cultural ambassador for Tokyo. He has an address.
What is at that address?
There is actually a model of like Godzilla's tail sticking out of the window.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love Japan so much.
I sent you this photo a few days ago, but there is a photo of a guy in a Godzilla suit being given like a banner, like what is it called when you get like that strip of fabric across your like.
Oh, right. Yeah, like the mayor or something.
Yeah, and he gets it from like the mayor of Tokyo. But it's just a dude in a Godzilla suit.
It's incredible. It's very cute, right? But it's strange also because King Kong, I don't think is at the level in America of cultural relevance that Godzilla is in Tokyo or Japan, right?
Yeah, like King Kong comparatively has like 12 films made of him.
You suck, King Kong!
Which is mostly just variations on the first movie.
Yeah, a lot of remakes and reinterpretations and that kind of thing.
But yeah, it is kind of interesting that King Kong has sort of just been remade a bunch, whereas Godzilla has had like an entire fucking universe built around him.
Yeah, it's a continuity, right? That spans from the first movie, pretty much, or?
Well, the first movie is sort of negated a lot because in that Godzilla is seen as like a villain, and then later he's more of like the hero of man. He saves the kids.
It's so funny.
Which is what these movies sort of draw on, even though it appears in every movie he seems to nuke half the planet.
He's radioactive. When I see people like, actively walking in his vicinity, I'm like, how are these people not dead? Because like he's like a walking Chernobyl.
Yeah, and even in King of the Monsters, he meltdown explodes. And it's like, that's not good.
All right, let's. I want to briefly talk about the other movies in the series because I fucking watched them, so I might as well just bring them up shortly.
Okay,
So first one was Godzilla 2014, directed by Gareth Edwards, who pretty
right.
much got the job because he directed an indie movie called Monsters, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a
It's
pretty
like
good
a
movie.
found footage type movie,
Mhm.
which kind of it indicates a lot of the direction you see in the 2014 movie because a lot of it is kind of, even though it's not found footage, a lot of the footage of Godzilla is secondhand. You don't.
Yeah, it's very much like, oh, we have a TV crew on the site that like has news footage or
Yeah,
whatever.
here's some grainy out of focus shots of Godzilla, and I think that's what people like kind of, I think they were kind of disappointed with it. I was a bit, where you're
Yeah,
kind of expecting this, oh, big budget CG monster that's not a lame suit person. Yeah, and he looks like he's like, he wasn't he at the time the biggest one also, like in
I think
size.
so. I think so. Yeah,
So you were pretty hyped and then you barely see it.
yeah. Until the end.
Yeah, the end is pretty cool. And I'm gonna say it up front: the best character in these movies is Ken Watanabe by far.
Yeah.
But it's not even fucking close.
No.
And he's like, he has nothing to do, and he's still the best character.
Yeah.
If I were Ken Watanabe, I would be like Ray Fisher levels of pissed at Warner Brothers for giving him such stupid bullshit. Like, here's a clock from Hiroshima. I
Yeah.
just carry it around.
It's probably radioactive. Like.
Like, do you get it, audience? Do you get it? Like, he almost like dangles it in front of the camera. Anyway,
Uh,
and first movie, whatever, and his name is Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, the big tease besides Godzilla is that we got Bryan Cranston, who was just hot off
Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad. He was like, everybody wanted to see him and everything. And he was gonna
Uh,
be in the Godzilla. I was like, yeah. And then he's awesome for like 20 minutes, and then he dies, and then you're
yeah.
stuck with Kick-Ass, and he sucks.
He's such a nothing character in that movie, which is weird because he's our lead and he's like there's more screen time of him than Godzilla and it's like eh.
What do you? Hey, audience, what do you think this character's feeling? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Constipated.
and he was so great that they didn't bring him back for the second one.
Well, this is kind of a thing. They don't really bring that many people back for these movies.
They brought back a lot of people for the for what we're gonna talk today. So anyway, first one was but the special effects were cool when we got to see
Right.
them, and whatever. Like you said, the ending was cool, fight, whatever.
Uh,
And the second one, directed by Michael Du 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 Dugarty, whatever. Well, it was more like an ensemble cast. Like you got Kyle Chandler, you got Vera Farmiga, you got Stranger Things girl,
got Charles Dance for like 2 seconds.
for some reason, and you got Ken Watanabe returning,
Right.
and I liked it obviously a lot more than the first one because the action was a bit. There's a lot more action in it, and
Oh, yeah.
stupid crazy thing, Ghidorah and a bunch of monsters happening, but it was the same problem that it was in the first one is in this one, and it's in the movie we're going to discuss today, is Godzilla versus Kong, which is that the human plot is the stupidest thing that you've ever seen in your life, and you don't want to see it.
It's surprisingly gotten stupider and stupider with every movie.
Somehow,
Because
I think King of Monsters is the best at doing that.
yeah, definitely.
Just because it kind of has like a GI Joe feel, where
yeah.
we're on like in a giant submarine, and Godzilla's right in front of us.
Yeah.
and what's his name? Kyle Chandler. I'm like a dad who listens to wolves, and now I'm the best, most qualified person to deal with Godzilla and all these other monsters. Sure,
Right.
sure. And Ken Watanabe has the best scene in the movie, in all of these movies, when he goes and meets Godzilla in this weird underground tomb, and he like touches him or whatever. It's like, oh, that was weird but interesting.
Yeah.
And I wish they would have just like have him like melt his face off because of the radiation.
Godzilla just like blows a puff of air and he just becomes dust.
He like burps. Ah!
And then in between 2014 and King of Monsters, they released Kong Skull Island.
Oh, was that in between? Okay.
Yes.
Right. And that takes place in the 80s?
Yes.
Right. And it has, again, in like an ensemble cast. You have John Goodman, you have John C. Reilly, you have Brie Larson, Todd Hiddleston?
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom.
Or as I like to call him, Hiddleditch.
Well, why?
Because it's funny.
All right. Okay, if you say so.
And Samuel L. Jackson for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, Samuel Jackson. And it was okay for the most part.
Yeah.
Kind of, seeing some of the choices that they made for Kong, like like a lot of people obviously compared it to the Peter Jackson one because that was the most recent one. And, like in the Peter Jackson one, Kong is a lot more ape-ish. And
well, I don't know if I would argue that. I would actually say in
I was gonna,
Skull Island,
I'm
he's
talking
closer
in
to...
terms of appearance, not...
Yeah, but I would argue in Skull Island, he looks closer to his original, whereas Peter Jackson just made him a big gorilla.
Okay, gorilla. Yeah, fair enough. Whereas they designed the new Kong to like look like a person in a suit, kind of.
They did the same with the new Godzilla design. Like, he's CG, obviously, but he's made to look like there's a dude in there.
Yeah.
Or there could be a dude in there.
Yeah, and Kong looks a bit more upperly, like his spine looks a bit more humanoid as opposed to...
He walks on two legs more.
Yeah, he kind of just looks like a dude in a suit, kind of. These are not creatures with complex feelings. They're like just rabid animals.
Right.
Like forces of nature that you cannot reason with. And that's what I liked about Godzilla is like he's not your friend. He's not a pal.
He's like you're like his pet.
Yeah,
basically.
He allows you to live. And if you're lucky, you might be able to direct him towards something he can destroy for you.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about them. And yeah, this pretty much leads us to Kong. What's it called? Godzilla versus Kong.
Which takes place 3 years after, well, kind of after King of the Monsters. They say that there hasn't been a good Kaiju or Godzilla sighting in like 3 years. So I'm assuming they mean King of the Monsters.
Yeah, they're kind of doing the comic book thing where they're just going off a 10-year timeline. So everything that we just mentioned pretty much happened within somewhat of a 10-year window. Well, obviously the Kong stuff happened in the 80s, but the Godzilla stuff happened within like 10 years, the whole thing.
Yeah. And what this movie is basically about is it's two sort of converging storylines. One is Kong, who's kind of a de facto lead in this movie. Like, he's stuck on Skull Island, the Monarch Corporation, which is kind of a through line through all of these movies. It's like I don't know, Stark Industries of these movies.
It's a shadowy organization that tries to control or manage the kaijus.
Or, like, learn about them and things like that.
Yeah.
They are containing Kong on Skull Island, but he's getting too big, and they suddenly mention that they might have also ruined Skull Island a little bit, so they're planning on moving him. And then you have the B plot, which is what the hell is Godzilla doing? He's kind of mad, and it all centers around this like corporation called Apex Industries.
Apex Legends, yeah.
I had the same thought when I was like, where they want to get to a thing called the Hollow Earth, which has been mentioned throughout these movies.
Right.
As like the place where the kaijus come from.
Which is like from a French novella or something, right? The Hollow Earth thing. I think it's in a Jules Verne thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, not 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but I could see like Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that.
Yeah. The concept of the Hollow Earth, right?
Like,
there's a pocket in the center of the
Earth. Yeah. And they want to use Kong to basically get them through because it's a whole thing with like gravity inverting and things like that. And they know that if they remove Kong from Skull Island, Godzilla will come after him because he's another big thing he can punch. Basically.
You're saying it like these things make sense, but they don't.
No. And yeah, Apex Industries is up to no good, apparently.
They're a bunch of scallywags taking skulls from other movies and making them into mechs.
Yeah, it's Mechagodzilla.
Yeah. So they took a skull of Ghidorah, who Godzilla, it had like 3 heads. That's what Ghidorah is, I guess. And Godzilla in King of Monsters decapitated him. And you see in a post-credit thing that the Charles Dance, who isn't in this movie, but he and his ragtag group of no-gooders, environmental terrorists, I think they were, which I was like, I don't know about that. But that group like has one of the heads, so I guess that's what this became.
Because we do see the Mechagodzilla control chair, which is inside the skull.
Oh my god!
I had thought, because I had heard rumors that Mechagodzilla was going to be in this movie, and people had already speculated that it was going to be through the head of Ghidorah and whatever. I had thought they were like, oh, they're going to put his brain or his head in Mechagodzilla, and that's going to be what
build it around the head, right?
Right. Not that they were going to put a chair inside his skull.
The explanation that they give for that it's embarrassingly stupid.
Okay, the thing about all of these movies is they have two brain cells to rub together, but they do a good job with them, at least in terms of making it funny.
Do they? I mean, okay, we can disagree, it's fine.
Well, I don't mean in the science is really well thought out. No, I mean in the fact we have a giant ape and a giant lizard fighting on an aircraft carrier. Yeah, and it looks awesome.
When that happens, it looks awesome,
Yeah.
Mainly because it's handled by a visual effects company, so they know what they're doing, they know how to do action, and I had a lot of plot problems with this movie, Daniel.
Yeah,
a lot.
There's a lot of plot problems with this movie.
Well, the plot is stupid, like you said. It's meaningless. Yeah. This is sort of an ensemble cast situation. You had a Stranger Things girl. She's back from King of Monsters, right? And so is Coach Chandler, Carl Chandler,
who plays her dad.
Who plays her dad in 2 scenes, and. And we have a new lead, Alexander Skarsgård, who is a vacuum of emotion.
Yeah, he's like a crackpot scientist who believes in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
Whom Apex recruits to get Kong.
And then they give him infinite money.
Yeah, and they work with Rebecca Hall, who studies Kong.
She's on Skull Island studying Kong. The amount of moving parts in this movie, this is what upsets me. This doesn't have to be this complicated.
No.
Just get to the fucking fight.
Yeah,
what, Daniel, tell me, what is the most famous line in this fucking series of movies?
Let them fight.
Thank you. Yes. It's by a character who's dead canonically in the series. And nobody gives a shit about any of this.
Yeah, and it's funny because they give themselves an out. They say oh, we have Kong in a cage because he's too big for the ecosystem. We should get him somewhere else. And then you have a shadowy organization that come in to do exactly that. And it's why did we need the shadowy organization? I get it.
There's multiple shadowy organizations. Wasn't there a Monarch? Because they say that this is a Monarch site, right, where Kong is.
Rebecca Hall works for a Monarch. Yeah.
But then there's also Apex.
Yeah, which is a cybernetics tech thing. I don't even think they explain what they actually do except build Mechagodzilla.
Before we recorded, I guessed randomly that the cinematographer of this is the same as Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, because everything about this reminds me of Revenge of the Fallen, in the sense that the only reason I'm watching this, me 14-year-old going to the cinema to see Revenge of the Fallen, is to see Transformers.
Right.
And it opens on 2 dogs fucking.
Oh yeah, it does that. And Michael Bay.
And I was like, this is some bullshit. And it's the same in this. There's no dogs fucking, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your taste. But
it opens on Kong.
It opens on Kong, but there's so much of the Michael Bay style. What is this? Is this racist maybe? Writers who have no idea how to write people or humans, and they just put cliches on characters and just hope that you'll give a shit. Like Rebecca Hall, who's an amazing actress and I have a huge crush on. She's in amazing movies. Have you seen Christine? She's amazing in it.
Yeah, she's great.
And she has no character in this. Nothing. No. Yeah. Her character is that she has a little monkey girl who can talk to Kong, and that's her whole
she's
character.
Deaf, and she's a native of Skull Island. She's the last native because all the other natives are dead.
Why
Which
are they dead? Who killed them?
they mentioned something that like basically the ecosystem is ruined because of Kong being too big and because of Monarch. So so they just died in a storm, and it's like, man, the natives never get treated well in Kong movies.
So Rebecca Hall's character is like, I'm gonna take this child and make it
Yep.
my own.
I thought it was her child originally. I was like, oh, it's her daughter, and then later we
Nope.
get told that she is, and I was like, wait a minute.
Did you steal this child, lady? Why did the child go through proper adoption processes? I hope so.
Go down to the adoption office of Skull Island.
Hello, welcome to the adoption office of Skull Island. This is
It's
Jeff.
next to the Walmart, because of course there is.
Best Buy. Yeah, and there's so many characters that just yell stupid shit, particularly Brian Ty Henry, who plays Bernie Hayes in the movie, who is
a dude who runs a podcast about monsters or kaijus or titans or whatever they call them, and he becomes like the linchpin of the like Godzilla subplot, where they're like looking for Mecha Godzilla basically.
Yeah, he works for Apex, and he
Right.
knows that they're doing fishy things, and he has a podcast. And you know what? It's just the black guy from the first Transformers movies all over again.
Yeah.
It's a bit more toned down, but not by much. I mean,
this movie is basically Revenge of the Fallen, but toned down.
it's exactly like all of the Transformers movies. The characters are stupid. They act erratically, and everybody just behaves like they just chugged 2 energy drinks and then they just start filming.
But there's no Mark Wahlberg.
I mean, he might as well be in it. I mean,
Right.
I'm an inventor. But Brian Ty Lee is basically Mark Wahlberg. Like, he's an inventor person, and he acts like an idiot the whole time, and he says nonsense. So, because I like Brian Ty Lee in Atlanta, the show, he's fucking great in it. It's Paperboy, and in this he sucks. He's like the worst character. I skipped through multiple scenes of him because I couldn't take it, especially when he teams up with Stranger Things girl.
Yeah, that whole plot line is very. It's just very like, oh, we need an excuse to.
Also, was there like a commentary on like racist things when like two people at Apex pull a gun on Brian Ty Henry in like a corridor?
Yeah, because he like goes down into the basement when a Godzilla is attacking the facility.
Yeah, but they have like they're like taser guns.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what you're doing? Like doing this. Like what why? But then we meet the Shia LaBeouf of the movie, if you will. Alexander Skarsgård. I swear to God, it's just Sam Witwicky again. Like, I'm just a loser, and I just need something to pull me back up because nobody's buying my books.
Yeah, like he is really odd in this movie because it's Alexander Skarsgård. Like who's
a terrible actor.
Well, he might be, but he's a big, beautiful man. When you see him, you imagine he should be like a heroic character of some kind, but he's Sam Witwicky, and it's like with Shia LaBeouf, it kind of, I wouldn't say it makes sense, but he plays like a younger character, so it's like, okay, you can get that wrong, but he's like a grown ass man, and it's like
his motivations are so paper thin. It's like nobody's buying my books. Not I can't pay my rent. Not I'm basically homeless.
Right.
Nobody's buying my books and they have bad reviews, and I have an office in a basement. Bitch, I would kill for an office in a basement.
You have an office.
You have an office. So it means that you also have a home and an office. And who gives a fuck if it's in a basement? But, you know, the writers of this movie believe that if you have an office in a basement, you're a fucking loser.
Yeah, and they do a lot of like, oh, he's trying to be heroic, but he's a coward, and it's like, but they never go far enough with it that he like runs off or anything.
But there's no arc for him. Like at the end, spoiler alert, I guess, when he resuscitates Kong.
Yeah.
What was the point of that? Like, did he go through something where he at first was like at first he was indifferent towards Kong, and then he ends the movie being indifferent because you can't tell because he has no facial expression what
He's
his
not
emotions
scared
are
of
about
him?
anything.
He's not scared of him anymore? Question mark?
Was he scared to begin with?
A little bit.
But the scene in the basement where Apex Man comes in and
Yeah,
give, and whoever he is, and gives him like the opportunity to do something with Kong.
Uh,
It's such a terrible. It's the worst scene in the movie, in my opinion, because like it's kind of like, look, you've seen American movies before. You know what this is. Let's just not try anything. Let's just say like he just like has like some sort of projector with some very advanced hologram with a doohickey that can go into the center of the earth, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
You know what I kind of realized watching this movie?
Yes.
Is it's a 2-hour movie.
It doesn't have to be 2 hours. No way.
But I would argue it goes by fairly quick. At least when you get to the end, because then it's mostly just action.
Yeah, I agree.
There's still so much of this movie you could just cut out. Like, you could cut out Alexander Skarsgård's character.
Just have Rebecca Hall. Just have her be the main character.
Yeah,
that's
like,
it.
Let Apex come to her and be like, hey, we actually want to fund you getting Kong off the island if you get him to this place because we want to go into the Hollow Earth. Boom, done. And she has a connection with Kong. She's been studying him for, I don't know, years?
Yeah. She kidnapped a child.
Yeah. She destroyed an island and all of its natives to study this ape. She has motivation. I don't know.
Yeah, but in the sense that in a cast that's already pretty thick, you have a lot of subplots. Why we don't need him as well. He doesn't add anything.
God. This movie just needs a big fucking like red pen over like half the scenes with the humans, and then go like, these action sequences, keep these because they're okay.
Can you imagine in a perfect world where Bryan Cranston wasn't killed in the first one, where he somehow like he maybe was thought to be dead, and then he just comes back in this and he's like a crazy conspiracy theory nut job, and he meets with Rebecca Hall, and Rebecca Hall is like more of a down to earth, I want to save these creatures kind of thing. And Bryan Cranston's just a fucking nut job. I want to fucking kill them all. And he becomes the villain.
Yeah. But that would be cool.
But instead we have new characters we don't give a fuck about. Like, who the fuck is Walter Simmons? The fucking guy who runs Apex. Nobody gives a fuck.
I don't know. Which is funny because he's not in the movie that much. His daughter takes over like most of it. Which is like, why is she here? Why isn't he here?
Let's make character proxies for other characters,
right?
Because that's what we need. You know what? Millie Bobby Brown needs a sidekick that also does nothing.
Which is the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People.
That's what I was. Okay, that's where I knew him from. Okay, I mean I like him in that. He's unwatchable in this.
He's. As with a lot of the other, all of the other human characters, they are a nothing character.
All right. Save for Lance Riddick. I love you, Lance.
Yeah. Love you, Lance.
I wrote down, I love Rebecca Hall so much, almost as much as Sean Bean. But why has
Sean Bean never been in one of these movies?
Why wasn't Sean Bean in this? That's a good question. You could kill him off.
Yeah, like, imagine if he was the leader of the Apex Industries, and then you remove the daughter character, and then he dies at the end. There.
Yeah. Just have like Godzilla's little paw. Just grab him and just chuck him in his mouth. Oh,
no.
You haven't seen the last. Oh. I did note down that Rebecca Hall's face acting is amazing in this.
She looks very startled.
She looks like she's on drugs. I love the fact that this movie, because they wanted to put in the trope of Kong in handcuffs. Right. Handcuffs.
In chains, yeah.
Kong in chains, because that was a thing in the original movie.
In all of the Kong movies, yeah.
and I like that they're trying to play calming music over racism metaphors to like sort of sucker you into like, no, this isn't what you think it is. I don't even know why. Like I was watching that, I didn't know why that was happening. You know, like, because Alexander Skarsgård shows up to the island, which is not under Apex jurisdiction; it's under Monarch, and it's under Rebecca Hall's authority, supposedly.
Right.
And he just comes up with the stupidest thing in the world, and he tells Rebecca Hall, and Rebecca's like, "Yeah, sure." And then they just invest gajillions of dollars into just
and bring a fleet
with a giant monkey on it. And
to
then
protect it from a lizard.
Yeah, and then the fleet blows up in a fight, and so they just bring him with helicopters to the North Pole.
I have a note here about when it's the Antarctic.
Oh, my bad.
Where they bring him to the Antarctic that says, how many helicopters does it take to lift King Kong? Because there's like a gazillion of them. Also, Steven, can I run a question by you about this movie?
Sure.
Is this an Evangelion movie in disguise?
Because the boat sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling those Evangelion vibes. Also, there's like a pyramid thing, right?
Yeah. And a little bit with like the Apex Industries thing, like the leader, Walter Simmons, he goes like, get in the chair, which is like, it's almost get in the robot.
Yeah, he should have go in the skull. I was feeling some Evangelion vibes. What did you think of the fight sequence on the helicarriers?
That was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of good use of music with like the like almost 2001-esque, choir for Godzilla, which is from the original 2014 Godzilla movie.
They should have played that rap song that they had at the end of King of Monsters. Oh, yeah. No! There goes Tokyo. Ga ga ga.
Oh my god, that song is the best and the worst. But yeah, overall, I like that fight. It's actually my favorite. It's my favorite sequence of the entire movie.
Yeah, it's contained enough. So, and there's the element of King Kong cannot probably breathe underwater, whereas in other movies we've seen that Godzilla is somewhat of an amphibious creature, right?
Right.
And I think in this movie, what they did that they didn't manage so well in the other ones is that they nailed Godzilla's facial expressions.
Yeah.
He looks like a badass.
He smiles at some point. He
kind of looks like a rat. He looks like a giant rat.
I noticed that when they shoot him, there's a lot of facial close-ups in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when they shoot him like front on, he looks like a thumb. And then they give him these like weird facial expressions where he's like, there's one point when he's fighting Kong in Hong Kong.
Hey.
Like he's grinning, and it's like, are you enjoying this, Scylla?
Well, fair play to them, to the animators and the designers of the creatures, because like obviously King Kong being an ape or gorilla, whatever, he resembles human features a lot more, so it's easier to animate emotion on him, whereas Godzilla's a lizard. So what it's hard. We do not know how to read lizard emotion.
Right. So
they had to find like an in between point. And I think they did a pretty good job. He looks very intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to like give him this almost like antagonistic nature to him, like maybe King Kong can empathize with other things, but Godzilla doesn't.
Yeah, Godzilla is just like, I need to destroy these other creatures that are here because I'm the big guy.
I'm the alpha. And they kind of give him almost like a Jaws thing, where you always see the fins that he has poking from the water.
There's a little bit of that, yeah.
I liked it a lot. I like Godzilla in all of these movies. He's really they made a good job of making him look like just a force of nature. Also, when he approaches Kong, I just wished if Kong's hair would have just fallen off his body because of the radiation. How do we treat giant gorilla cancer?
That's a lot of no, not dialysis. That's not cancer.
No, we need a giant mountain drill to remove the tumor.
They never really talk about his radiation, even though they do say he has like atomic breath, but they never know. They never like
When they fight on the helicarriers and they murder a bunch of people.
Oh boy, do they murder a lot of people in this movie.
I wish they would have mentioned that, like, oh my god, we might, like somebody just offhand said, like, when all this is over, we might just have 5 years to live.
Maybe that's why none of the characters cross over. It's because they're all dying of cancer.
Dying. Cut to Kick-Ass, like in a bed. He's dying of cancer. Yeah, but the helicarrier fight was good. It was a lot of fun. Two hunks punching each other.
Yeah,
good stuff.
And a lot of like jumping from ship to ship, which was what got me into thinking like, okay, this director has watched Evangelion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Although maybe that's not the only thing that does that. Maybe
fair enough.
Maybe we just have a very narrow scope.
Well, I will argue the director of this, Adam Wingard, also directed the Death Note movie for Netflix. So God. So he is in that sphere. Yeah.
This explains a lot. That's why everything live action looks like shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
a lot of neon colors as well.
Yeah, too much. This is like the opposite of a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, it's too colorful.
It's too colorful. Because, fucking skipping ahead, they move King Kong to Antarctica. It comes across very cruel to me. You just move this fucking creature who wasn't designed for this environment. You just bring him to Antarctica. He looks sad.
Yeah.
Fuck you, people.
And you have to, like, cheat him to go into, like, the cave he has to go into. I'm just like, if I were King Kong, I would nope the fuck out of here.
Where?
That's the real question.
Yeah, they didn't really give him a lot of options, right?
But yeah, they tell him that there are more of his kind in this cave that will lead them to the Hollow Earth.
But Daniel, how did they tell him?
Through sign language.
Because he can understand sign language.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It's not the dumbest thing in this movie. I'm okay with it.
Fair enough. The amount of time that they waste trying to explain how the Hollow Earth gravity works is killing me.
Yeah, specifically when they then afterwards show you how it works.
Just jump through a hole. We need King Kong for this. Why?
Because he will lead us the way, but you already have a cape that goes the exact way.
It's one hole, and King Kong doesn't lead you anywhere. He just falls into it. Yeah,
like it's a straight corridor, and then a fucking drop.
This corridor has been available for presumably an extended period, right? And nobody explored it, or the fauna, the giant ecosystem. Nope, need King Kong. You know what? I had a revelation during this movie about Brian Ty Henry's character, is that he is exactly the same as Sean from I, Tonya.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Because there's a scene where they're at a diner where there's just a light blasting in your face. It's all red. Yeah. And it looks exactly like a scene from I, Tonya, where Sean, if you guys haven't seen I, Tonya, it's one of my favorite movies. There's a character in it called Sean who, he's like a crazy conspiracy theorist. But he's also kind of a huge liar. And he's like, I actually worked with the Mossad and the Special Forces, and I know these things. And Brian Ty Henry he's genuine, but he sounds like that because he's saying all these crazy things with a bunch of kids.
And he bathes in bleach. The way they find him, the way Millie Bobby Brown's character and her friend finds him, is that he buys a lot of bleach. Because apparently he bathes it with it.
Is that a good idea? I don't think that's a good idea for your skin.
I was like, is that really a thing you want to like showcase in your movie that you should bathe with bleach?
Well, to be fair, his character comes across as, unhinged, right?
But right at the end.
Fair enough. Good point. Movie tricked me. I almost drank some bleach.
But yeah, Kong goes to Hollow Earth, and all of the other sort of characters convene at Hong Kong, where apparently Apex have their headquarters and where they're building Mechagodzilla.
Yeah,
Why Hong Kong? Because we can't destroy Tokyo, apparently. I don't know.
there goes Tokyo.
Uh,
Why is it Hong Kong?
yeah, I don't know.
This feels like some political stuff going on. I just can't really untangle what the situation is. Like.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit like, why did you pick Hong
Well,
Kong specifically?
you mentioned that this movie was successful in China,
69 million. Yep.
so maybe that's why.
I don't know. The other MonsterVerse movies have also been successful in China. So
Okay, there goes Tokyo.
yeah, that goes.
Alexander Skarsgård and Brian should exchange plot point pictures. They both look at a picture of a dead friend.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they're like, if the characters ever meet, which they don't, but if the characters ever meet, it's like, hey, you got a picture of a dead loved one? I also got one. Here you go. Oh, wow. No, but, it's just like, why don't repeat the same plot points, guys?
Right.
You guys like hot dogs?
I ate the whole plate.
Eat the whole plate. Hot dogs get a bad rap.
Yeah.
So we get to the Hollow Word stuff. I like that stuff. I like.
Yeah, like that was pretty cool.
When you see that, Kong maneuvering through Hollow Earth and that kind of thing, did you get the impression that should this whole thing just been a video game?
A little bit, yeah.
Where you play as Kong in a procedurally generated nonsense world?
You mean Donkey Kong? Yeah, it felt very video gamey.
Yeah, but it was again, when it's CG, it's fun because
and the CGI is really good in this movie.
Yeah,
so.
like Kong is exploring this world, the gravity stuff, the whatever, and then he gets to like some sort of throne room.
Throne room? I don't know. Yeah.
What was that?
Where I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like a throne room for his ancestors or something.
But so why is he dumber than his ancestors? Does he have a mental disability?
I don't know. But there he finds an axe made of, I assume, Godzilla's or a Godzilla's like back fin.
Yeah, right. Good call. Yeah.
But then they have the entire thing of like the floor glows and it's like it makes a symbol of like Godzilla. So it's like, oh, did the ancient King Kongs and Godzillas fight? And it's like, okay. But then they have like a spider, like Apex has like a spider bot that goes over and takes a sample of it and uploads the sample so they can use it to power Mechagodzilla. I have no fucking clue what that was supposed to be.
They just gave up. They were like,
yeah, that was just like, and then it uploads an energy signature. Done.
Uploads an energy signature.
I think they specifically use the word energy signature.
Yeah. It's kind of like peaks and valleys. You get the cool, Hollow Earth stuff, and then it's just 20 minutes of nonsense. Like you get the upload spider bot who cuts this indestructible axe with ease, uploads a sample with using what, the internet? Does the internet have signal in the fucking middle of the earth?
That's not AT&T.
Yeah. Comcast. Pretty good Wi-Fi. They must be using Netgear routers for that. Anyway, brought to you by Netgear. The conspiracy theorist crew and all that, they discovered the skull,
the throne or whatever, and the where you control Mechagodzilla.
And Bright Eye Henry explains to the audience how this works, and I just like, wow, like. Skulls don't have brains in them.
Yeah, they say basically that the skull can like telepathically talk because okay, so King Ghidorah had 3 heads, but they communicated telepathically apparently, and
right.
Therefore the skull can communicate with Mechagodzilla, and that's like the interface. I don't know. Anyway, they upload the energy signature and Mechagodzilla goes
Somebody
back.
was holding somebody was holding a gun to the to the New Zealand actor from
Hunt for the Wilder People.
Hunt for the Wilder People, the actor from Hunt for the Wilder People. His name is Julian Dennison. Somebody was holding a gun to him, probably the casting director, and they were like, "Say it, Mecha Godzilla." And then he
because they call him Robo's Godzilla, and it's like, no, he's Mecha Godzilla. And it's like, is he? Because there's nobody inside him controlling him, so he's not a mech.
But Daniel, it's controlled by a skull with a brain that doesn't exist. Come on, get with the program until it's not.
So, Steven, what did you think of Mecha Godzilla? Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not on board with this at all, in the sense that I know that this is a thing in Toho movies, but I mean, this is pretty stupid.
Actually, fun fact, the only surviving Godzilla suit is the Mecha Godzilla suit because it was made out of fiberglass.
Of course.
All the others have like rotted away.
Brian at one point says the line, "It's so massive, it's so stupid." You said it.
Yeah, you said it.
So what did you think of the Hong Kong fight between Godzilla and King Kong?
I think it was pretty cool. It wasn't as cool as the boat fight, but it was pretty cool. I like the idea of like King Kong being able to like swing around the buildings and use his mobility, whereas Godzilla basically has a one trick, which is his nuclear breath.
Yeah, you get the idea that Godzilla is a lot more stronger and kind of just brutal, like he's more of an animal, whereas King Kong is more intelligent, maybe. You know, and I like the fact that he like has an injury on his shoulder, you know, because of his human anatomy. You know, that kind of was cool. And you know, we did say it like, you know, people were complaining a couple of years ago that movies look too monochrome. They didn't mean that they wanted them to look like this.
I mean, it's not full Revenge of the Fallen, but it's close.
You don't have to put every color on the spectrum in it.
Yeah.
It's just, it becomes a bit of a lot. And it kind of looks a lot like the fight from Pacific Rim.
Yeah, except it's not raining, so it's pretty easy to... It's surprisingly easy to read what's happening, which I will give the movie.
What do you think of the fact that they don't really do the trademark slow motion for the big guys thing? Because they move pretty fast.
Yeah, sometimes it's fine. Other times sometimes specifically Kong's scale doesn't really read.
Good call.
I would have liked some more shots. Like one of my favorite shots in this entire movie is you see from inside an office building, and you see like an office table, and then you see through the window you see Godzilla and Kong fighting, and the end is like Godzilla's face getting smacked through the window. It's like my favorite shot of the entire movie because it really shows their scale. And you see like the chairs jump around whenever they like move. And I was like, okay, that's a cool way of showcasing it. Kind of like the hand going through the building in Pacific Rim.
Right. With the little the desk toy thing.
Yeah, the little like Newton's cradle.
Newton's cradle. Thank you.
What else? I like that they do a shout out to the original King Kong versus Godzilla, where King Kong like jammed a tree down Godzilla's throat, but this time it's the axe handle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, it was a lot of good action. Action. To the movie's credit, Godzilla and Kong are the best actors in the movie.
Right.
Because you care about them and you want to. It's in terms of, I never liked versus movies anyway. Like, you know, a thing versus another thing. What is this, a boxing match?
Yeah.
But I think it's handled particularly well because, one, you don't really have expectations from Godzilla to become friends with King Kong because Godzilla is more of a primordial beast. He doesn't have feelings per se.
Right.
Whereas King Kong is more of an evolved, you know, is a primate of some description. And, you know, the power dynamics are interesting in that area. So you're kind of wondering, like, what's going to happen here? Like, what's... You know, I like when Godzilla has him pinned down and they're both just yelling at each other. Like, they're not relenting dominance.
I almost wanted a Mothra scene there. It's like, why did you say that name?
But again, this is the same dynamic as in Batman v Superman, but it's done with animals, not with humans.
So it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Save Mothra. Why did you say that? Where is this is the thing the movie never actually gets into. Where is Mothra? Where is Rodane? We saw them in the last movie. Where the fuck are they?
The movie's already pretty crowded. You got to put in those scenes, Daniel, with those humans. Gotta put in that scene in the basement with.
Yeah, but it is kind of funny because that has always been like the weird dynamic of these movies is you gotta do like a balance of the monster fights, which is good entertainment for the most part, and then the sort of human emotional core. And there are some movies who do it well. Like I would say King of the Monsters does it well, or
Passable.
Within the scope of its movie, it does it well.
It's passable.
Yeah. Kong Skull Island, to an extent, also does it well. There should have been more John C. Reilly, but it does it well.
Yeah, I think I liked the humans in that the most.
Yeah, same. Although
mainly, I think because they got a lot of really good actors in that.
Yeah. Whereas with this one, it feels like they were like, okay, that just means we need a lot of humans, right? This movie, this entire script feels like a second pass would have just nicked all of that. It's like, yeah, out with Skarsgård, out with the CEO's daughter, just put the CEO in it. Who cares? Like, out with the conspiracy theorist guy. It's just,
But what upsets me, I think, the most is you can pretty much draw a straight line from Independence Day to this.
Yeah, there was this felt very much like Independence Day Resurgence to me, in a way.
And Independence Day Resurgence is just Independence Day again.
Right.
And I know that this was a staple of early disaster movies to have like ensemble casts, large casts, right?
Right.
And it's by this point it feels so tired. Like I don't want this. Nobody wants this.
Like I don't mind that we have a set of human characters in the middle of it, which is why I think they should have focused more on like Rebecca Hall's character. Mm-hmm. Maybe find a way to like tie Kyle Chandler and Millie Bobby Brown's character into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, maybe Kyle Chandler starts working for Monarch and he gets stationed.
Doesn't he work for something? Because he's like at a thing looking at monitors.
Right. I don't think they ever explain it. Anyway.
Don't have time.
He gets stationed on Skull Island. He gets introduced to Rebecca Hall's character. Boom. There's your connection.
Yeah.
Go.
There's no need for this extensive of a cast.
Yeah. Like you could cut half of them and the movie would flow better.
But what you hear in certain circles as an excuse for this is that it would be too expensive to have, because if you cut out more of the humans, obviously you need to put in more of the CG monsters.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think by this point, would it just be more affordable to just have more of the CG stuff?
I would put it this way. If you remove the sort of a lot of the unnecessary storylines and sort of streamlined it, but kept the same amount of CG in this movie.
This is a specific blend of movie. It's not right. It's not like an animated movie. It's a live action movie with animated elements in it.
Right.
Do you think we can have a movie where we just drop the live action completely and just have it, photorealistically CG to the extent that it was in this?
But does that mean remove the humans?
Mm-hmm. Or have them as briefly as possible?
I would argue that the humans are kind of necessary.
What if you just have a movie where Godzilla just comes one day to Skull Island and then they just fight for an hour and a half?
I mean, I'd watch the shit out of it.
There you go.
But I'm also exactly the audience for this movie. And this movie needs to make $200 million at least. So
it's clear that the live action elements are not what the people making the movie are focusing on, because they feel rushed and just
underdeveloped
inconsequential to the story.
Right.
Like when the New Zealand kid is trying to hack into Godzilla's mainframe, he says something like, if I can figure out the password, maybe I can shut it down. It's like, what is this? It's like a fucking 6-year-old cartoon.
Yeah, and they spend like 5 minutes yelling at each other before he takes the the like little flask he has with whiskey or whatever, and just pours it over it, and that works.
This feels like a plot from like a filler episode of a kid's cartoon.
Right.
Not even the good ones, the filler.
No.
And that I think that's what disappoints, in terms of that. But
I would
sorry.
I would also argue like we've compared this movie to like Revenge of the Fallen, but even within Transformers movies, there are better Transformers movies. Like Bumblebee is pretty good.
But overall, I guess what would you give the movie? Like a rating?
I think I gave it like a 5 or 6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is probably the lowest I've ever given one of these movies.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
there's some fun fight scenes in it, like the fight scenes alone and the CGI and makes me give it that score. It's not the story, it's not and the entertainment value because I was entertained, and thank God the movie wasn't 4 hours.
Somebody's gonna demand a cut of this.
No. I mean, they can have it. I won't watch it. But yeah, overall, it was a bit like I would rather just sit down and watch King of the Monsters again, honestly, or Kong Skull Island, because those two are like, in my opinion, the two best of these four.
All right, yeah, I concur. I mean, I would give King of the Monsters 10 out of 10 just for the rap alone.
I mean, yeah.
There goes Tokyo.
I mean, I did unironically give King of the Monsters like 8 out of 10 because I was just insanely entertained by it.
Yeah, it's a lot of balls to the wall, crazy
Yeah.
action. This one has too much, padding and nonsense and filler. Yeah, I would pretty much give it a 6 as well. I would probably give Kong's Skull Island a 7, and maybe 7 or 8 for King of Monsters, and then pretty much 6 for the original Godzilla.
Yeah, I would probably be similar. But I do say, like, if they decide to continue this franchise, which I kind of hope they do, then they could do like a Kong Hollow Earth. I would watch that.
Yeah, I want to see more of the Hollow Earth stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like I would totally watch a movie that takes place down there.
Down under?
Down under, with a hire an Australian actor or actress.
What's his name?
Hugh Jackman.
Alrighty. Go find me a Skull Island. Or Ben Mendelsohn. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ben Mendelsohn. He would be the villain, obviously.
Obviously. I think I really want to see a story where humans are just the villain.
Right.
And he's the protagonist.
Yeah.
Because that would drive the metaphor home, like none of this in between bullshit. Well, some people really like him. It's like, no, you're exploiting this creature, Rebecca Hall.
Yeah,
you're part of it.
Like maybe, like let's say they bring back Rebecca Hall and Alexander Skarsgård as like no. Let's say they bring them back and they are like part of the team that is, because they show in the end of the movie that Monarch has a base in the Hollow Earth, and then you bring down like Ben Mendelsohn, who's the head of Monarch, because of course he is. And then you reveal over the course of the movie that Monarch just wants to exploit Kong, and then Kong turns around and goes, no. And,
Yeah, like, I would love to see something like that. That's not what we're going to get, obviously.
I mean, I just spent 5 minutes dreaming of a better movie than this one, so.
Yeah.
Theoretically better movie than this one, let's be fair.
But, they are what they are. They're visual effects reels.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, the reason why I like these movies is because I think if you're going to spend $200 million on a movie, why not have it be a giant lizard punch a giant monkey?
So, Daniel, you're a big fan of these types of movies, right?
Right.
And Aquaman.
And Aquaman.
Those are the only two things you like in life.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite movie of this type of a kaiju movie?
Pacific Rim maybe is up there as like one of my like there is what do I think is the best one, and then there's which is the most entertaining.
All right, fair enough.
Because if I just want to have 2 hours and watch a movie that like I know I'm gonna enjoy and is gonna be fun, then I would watch something like King of the Monsters. But if I want to watch an actually good movie, then it would probably be something like don't know, Pacific Rim is pretty good. I mean, the Peter Jackson King Kong is also pretty good, but it's 3 hours, and
We're gonna watch it,
we are gonna watch it.
and I'm gonna watch the shit out of the fucking 5 hours of behind the scenes footage.
Is there 5 hours of behind the scenes?
Oh yeah, you betcha.
Oh God, I'm glad we're not doing Lord of the Rings because I got the extended cut of that, and there's like 40 hours of behind the scenes on that thing, including like 5 commentary tracks.
How is this man not dead yet?
I mean,
We'll post the list of the movies that we decided to do podcast episodes on. The kaiju movies that we decide. There's gonna be some good ones, and there's gonna be a lot of terrible ones.
there's gonna obviously be a lot of terrible ones, and there's gonna be some really weird ones.
Just for reference, I haven't seen a lot of these movies. Obviously, I'm a newbie. I'm a noobster. But I have seen Shin Godzilla, and that's my favorite one.
Oh yeah, Shin Godzilla. That one is really good.
Beat you to it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this, Daniel?
More rap.
I thought they were gonna do a dual rap for this movie, where you have a
Oh,
song
yeah.
for King Kong and a song for Godzilla, and then when they meet, you do a rap battle.
I'm actually surprised because in that King of Monsters rap, there is like a vocal choir.
Yeah,
Yeah, that they actually use in the movie as like Godzilla's theme or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that they don't bring it back for this movie.
The soundtrack for King of Monsters, I listened to it on Spotify. It's pretty fucking good.
It's really good. It's Bear McCreary.
There goes Tokyo. Godzilla.
So I guess my final thoughts is watch King of the Monsters.
Watch King of the Monsters, and if you'd have thought that the System of a Down guy never had a career after System of a Down like I did, surprise.
Surprise.
All right, well that's about it. Keep chugging, whatever.
Keep an eye on what we're gonna post next, and we're gonna continue down this rabbit hole of weird kaiju movies.
Yes.
So see you for that.
See ya.